Hello, I'm Stephen Stone, and today I'm going to talk about the Dan Clark Stealth headphones. Dan Clark originally started with the name Mr. Speakers, which was odd because Dan Clark and Mr. Speakers never actually produced any speakers. They've always been a headphone manufacturer. Their first headphones were modifications of Fostex designs. They used Fostex drivers and put them and made modifications and put them in their own enclosures. But for actually quite a few years now, they've been making their own headphones. Actually, they're on their fourth iteration of their particular stator design for their planar headphones. And the Stealth is their currently flagship model. It goes for just under $4,000, and it's a closed capsule headphone, which is interesting because traditionally closed capsule headphones had a major disadvantage sonically from open capsules, from the fact that they had to deal with the back pressure of the enclosure bouncing the sound back out the front of the headphones. So they had to figure out some way to dampen them. As technology has advanced, the ways to dampen headphones have gotten much better. If we look at the Stealth headphone here, the enclosure itself is only about that big. So you wonder how in such a small space they can possibly damp all that back wave. The way they do it is through 3D printing in the interior, which allows them to make a far more complex enclosure inside there than they could if they're using other methodologies. So they're very light and really comfortable. You can wear these things all day. The basic design in terms of the outside is very similar on all of the Dan Clark headphones. You can see that they share the same shape. And so you wonder what makes these special. Well, there are a number of things. Probably the most important thing is the fact that they have a Harman Curve. What is a Harman Curve, you might ask? I'm glad you asked me that question. The Harman Curve is basically a way of duplicating the effect of sound in a room. Rooms tend to reinforce the bass slightly and give you a little more push. So with studies and empirical studies as well as mathematical studies, Harman came up with a way to simulate the effect of a room. And their studies showed that people tended to prefer that sound to a absolutely flat EQ curve. So these have the Harman Curve in them, which is, it's not like they've become suddenly bass monsters because of the curve. They're maybe a bit warmer than they would be otherwise, but it's a very subtle thing. It's not like suddenly these are turned into, say, the Sony top-of-the-line headphones, which are definitely bass heavy, which is really nice if you're listening to the bass, but can be a little overbearing sometimes. So these are a little better balanced than that. So one interesting thing about these headphones is, although they're a 23 ohm impedance, which is a low impedance and traditionally is usually pretty easy to drive, these are not that easy to drive. Actually, they are the hardest headphones I have in my collection to drive. They're even harder to drive than the Bear DT990 600 ohm version, which previously had been my go-to headphones to see if a headphone amp has enough muscle to really drive them. With these, what's surprising is you think, oh God, I'm going to have to spend another $4,000 on a pair of amplifier that's strong enough to drive these suckers. Not true, not true. I've driven them on as little as a $100 high-diz AP80 portable. It's a teeny little thing, teeny little thing. So that had no trouble driving them. Also drove them with the Magnus power headphone amplifier, which also has balanced in as well. Also the SMSL SO200 successfully. So there are a lot of inexpensive headphone amps that will drive these. So it's not like you're going to go, oh, I'm going to have to spend twice as much money as the headphones for an amplifier. With the Stealth, that is definitely not the case. So that's a brief overview of the Stealth. If you have a chance to hear them, you should. If you put them on, I think you'll have a hard time taking them off. See you next time.